Hi, welcome. In this video, I'd like to discuss the issue of context, how to actually achieve or gain context by way of relationship. And again, when I use this example of parenting, because again, it's a great example when you take everything I say and apply it to the parenting model. And even in terms of, how things can appear a certain way, from appearances, just from, again, at a response level, things can appear really good, as say the selfish child is interacting with and doing things they want to do. However, here's the context part. Okay, it's the moment. Okay, and this is the relationship side of things. It's the moment the parent puts a demand on the child to do a certain thing, such as the example I use as take the garbage out. That's when you're going to see the real deal. The motives of the child are going to be exposed, and they're going to respond, and this is when conflict comes to the surface. Now, just like, again, I talk about interacting with dogs, okay, even in terms of influence, okay, how that it takes hold during these interactions, intersects these interactions, but reveals truth in terms of the perceptions of a dog, how much control a dog is actually holding in the relationship with their owner. That's when it's going to be revealed through interacting with the dog in specific ways, the ways that I show. In fact, when you look at the interactions, and this is where people struggle sometimes, they'll assume things based on, they just look at the reaction part of things. Say a dog, where conflict comes up to the surface, and they will assume that you're doing something that doesn't make sense to the dog, that is over the top, and they're not able to or not wanting to reconcile the relationship that way. Because again, understand, this is that whole emotion slash motivating dogs in a superficial way, learning idea of things that doesn't align properly. Okay, because again, it doesn't provide context. In fact, it's based on assuming things that more often than not simply are not true regarding how the relationship is moving forward, merely based on appearances and response without context. So again, understand, context is everything, but can only be established by way of interacting with a dog in a specific way that's going to allow the dog owner to reconcile what's really happening in the relationship. But here's the interesting thing, and I encourage people to think about this, is when you look at all the behavioral issues that you're dealing with now, where they seem on the periphery, they seem like disconnected from how you perceive things based on how things appear as a dog is off leash floating around the home environment. Again, just think of my selfish child example. But when you interact with the dog the way that I'm showing, this is why when I step into a home environment situation, the first thing I'm telling the owner to do is get the dog on the leash and then line it up with interacting with the dog the way that I'm showing. Even the response of, or the interaction with the dog, going into a down position on their own, and then once the owner asserts influence on top of the dog's shoulders to do it, you'll see conflict, you'll see resistance rise up immediately. And to make sense of that, saying, well, the dog just went down on their own, they were fine with it, but when you asserted control and influence over the dog rejected it. And that blows their mind, because they're like, right in that moment alone, it's like, okay, well, yeah, how do you explain that? So all to consider or think about is about, appreciating dogs for the amazing animals they are. But somehow people think that, the selfish child example is, doesn't apply. But why, the question is, why wouldn't it apply? And people think that dogs are somehow different, as, in terms of relationship. Well, it's not at all. It's about understanding, again, how to gain not just context, but how to move the relationship forward in a way that's going to change perceptions of dogs the right way. It's all about that. So again, I would encourage you to really think about what I'm saying. Context is gained through approaching a process properly, interaction based, versus, again, when you motivate dogs the way that the majority do it, you don't gain context that way. In fact, it's all based on assumptions that, again, more often than not, are simply not true. This is what gets people into trouble at the very beginning, because they're not even considering stepping back. But again, like I said, when you interact with the dog the way I show, then you get that level of conflict at the beginning, at the very beginning, under certain interactions. Then you're able to line things up. Then you say, okay, my dog moving around the home environment, maybe it isn't so good. Maybe it just appears to be good. And see, that's the point, is that appearances are very deceptive, because context can only be achieved by approaching the process the right way. Thanks for watching.